Hello, Music Multiverse listeners. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio. Welcome to Album Review Saturdays, and it's episode 33. Yeah, it's a cool number. But what's more cool than that? Damn, back on the program. Yes, that's right. Co-host
Good morning.
extraordinaire, reviewer, contemporarist, but we'll convert her. Oh, we're
We'll
gonna
see.
try this week.
We'll
There's a
see.
lot to ponder. Um,
hmm
If you're new to the channel, you're not alone. Nope. There are hundreds joining per. Well, let's not get into that. We're all about finding new music to listen to, and on this particular program, yes, it's about the albums that releasing this year. Could be a few weeks ago, could be last week, could within the realms of that possibility. But our other shows, while in the same kind of exploratory session, they talk about the past or favorites of other artists and bands that we like. Sort of reminder of you to check things out. Of course, that reminder be that we're almost at 900 videos, so you got plenty to choose from. So go on back and clicky and get lost and ruin your entire weekend by watching everything. If you like what you see and hear, well, that's the idea. Click subscribe and get notice of everything and all that we're doing. It's almost daily. It should be every day. I try, but I have a real job too. So does
Me
Dan.
too.
Hey, we keep it light. We keep it informative. We let you kind of decide. And if I've offended you in some way with my
Uh-oh.
manic sense, my obtuse review, at least I'm not respewing AI filtered bullshit review after listening to a single or maybe the first three songs. Come on, stick around. You'll appreciate the reality of it. You should if you're a music lover or even interested in what makes the music multiverse tick. Yeah, I did it again. While we take the channel and music seriously, again, this is all just kind of for fun, you know?
And it's fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. And you may find out today.
Let's have some listening fun and get you committed to this whole cause, okay? The review discussion will take us from a cover that is Matchbook, and I didn't know it until I started writing the article. Then, if you look carefully, that's what it was. It's like you wouldn't expect this to be like a jazz bop center that leads an indie joyride with no frills brotherhood that we've actually featured to some degree already on this channel.
Oh.
Then we go to a folk ride with some harmonic Australian bitches. Hey, I didn't name them. They're kind of cool. And then one of the most interesting covers of the year, a progressive metal rock band that is adding to the heat of the second half of this genre's year, 2025, and it's Rush to Glory. It's almost like it's Oscar time, and they're all trying to push. I want to be the greatest progressive rock album. No, I'm going to be the greatest progressive rock album. No,
It's me. It's me.
so let's follow the fun, rooted and crafty Americana trio that huffs and puffs like any other I've ever heard. Maybe stretch out on the couch and groove and harmonize in an indie folk glow of three fabulous females from Australia and take on a sophomore prog pressure cooker that has a metal philosophy that's kind of three-mouthed. What? Yeah, you're ready for album review 2025, episode 33. I can tell. You're in. The Wood Brothers. You're right there. Puff of Smoke. I'll be honest with you. I did not see the album cover for the Matchbox that it was. Matchbox. Matchbook that it is. Until I started writing the article for Beyond Your Radio. I thought it strange that this ninth studio album, yeah, nine. If 10 if you want to count the covers album they have. So I kind of just thought, well, I think they're going all psychedelic here, I guess, on this cover, kind of Hendrix thing. So I didn't really look at there's a staple. It's perfectly match
Mhm,
bookian.
mhm.
But it's how fitting it is, considering that the album kind of sneaks up on you at how cool each track is, as well as the clever writing that is as snappy as the jazz back structure that's provided by Oliver's brother, Chris Wood. Yes, that's right. From Medeski Martin Wood.
Medeski, Martin, and Wood.
Yeah.
Yes. Medeski's
You'd think I
first.
remember that from a couple of weeks ago. And then you've got Yeah, no, Rick's kind of rounding out the trio, and he's worked with Zach Brown. So he's like the multi
Mm.
instrumentalist, and hey, you're the drummer too. Okay, sounds good. The Boulder brothers were quite separate in their musical duties after leaving home, but they found each other again 20 years ago. And this band has been one of those real interesting gems in an entirely, I don't know, interesting landscape of music combinations. They've been confoundedly nominated for country artist a couple of times.
Hmm.
Yeah, imagine that. But it's this Americana jazz amplitude that really gets this folk songwriting charisma out there.
They're stuck on a mountain, nobody around, just the valley below, and you can't get down. You're supposed to be somewhere, you're bound to be late. You're supposed to be someone that you created. I heard the trick is not to give a damn.
Trick is not to give a damn.
Yeah, the trick is not to give a damn.
The trick is not to give a damn.
And it's beyond the beauty of Colorado, which is great. So now I think this might be. I don't know whether this puts them out there further or not. I don't think they really care. But I'm just saying, this is as interesting as it gets, and the idea of genre tampering that matches the ideas and complexities of Calexico, or want another one in comparison? Let's go into Canada and a band called Blackie and the Rodeo Kings, who might also be on the radar of this. So, damn, did it go up
Well, I
in a
don't
puff of smoke?
know. Sometimes I felt like I should have had a smoke, but um
They do talk about that, I believe.
yeah, I think they do. Yeah, I was surprised to find that they were from Boulder, Colorado. That's not what I would have guessed by listening to, they've got an interesting combination of genres, at first read, they talk mostly about gospel and folk, but really what elevates that for me to be something that's new and fresh for me is not just the jazz, but there's Zydeco here, and it's placed in certain songs just masterfully. I think that makes it interesting and not overdone. Uh, the Woods brothers, their dad uh was a big like storytelling kind of guy. He loved Joan Baez and some classical things, but he was a molecular scientist.
Yeah,
Now, I never think of a molecular scientist like my brother, so I actually know one firsthand to be a storyteller. So I find that very interesting. But their mom was a poet too. So um that kind of lends to their storytelling and the way they tell a story, not just the story itself, but how it's being told. I really I enjoyed listening to this when I saw that. I think it was Chris Wood, his one main influence was Ray Charles, and I love Ray Charles, and he certainly can tell a story, and sometimes you don't even need to hear the words. You can feel it in just the vocal, the feeling of the vocal, right?
mhm.
Um, but yeah, great album. My favorite was Money Song. There was something, I don't know, carnivalist. Like I couldn't put my finger on it, but every time that one came on, my mood just went.
Money rich, money poor, no money and you're out the door. Born into a world unkind. Money love, money lies, money tears you cry. Born under the dollar sign.
This is fun. This is good. This is the kind of stuff I like to listen to when I'm at work and things are stressful. So I think everybody should give it a try. Puff the smoke. And it took me a while to notice that cover as well. I didn't realize it was,
Yeah, sometimes lost, right?
yeah,
Let's
but
start with the musicianship that these three have. Upright bass, that's Chris.
mhm,
Obviously
mhm.
jazz influence, that's what he's been, but he plays standard bass too, I gotta believe.
Yes.
Uh, it's not something you're going to expect to be in this area and as be the bombastic part of this Americana folk expression, but it works. However, it is, and Chris Wood knows that he can weave it in a modern composition, or he can bring it backwards into, we'll say country-esque mojo. And Oliver here he reaches deep into the current and relevant Americana, right? That's the thing that makes this work. If you watch our YouTube channel, I've been upset with the lyrical expression and reference points of Neil Young, falling into a crazy horse that's been beaten to repetitive death. All right. You should listen to episode 22 coming soon. There are songs written to reach that now, the now here, not the kind of that's going on with what I just said. There's pause, there's position, there's insight and hope in the challenges and the experiences. So the Wood Brothers also have a human condition to make it clever and punchy, and that matches. Yeah, you knew that was coming. The matches, get it? Okay. The musical concepts and arenas that batter Americana around. Till the End is the only one that holds a folk Americana position, actually. So what's the trick here? Actually, my favorite song. I don't have to tell you. You can hear it, especially in the trick. The trick is not to give a damn, or is it to pray God listens? Ponder that, my music multiverse friends, while you're listening to this album. Yeah, going about your day, taking care of business, trying to understand a person's position, while the world feels it seems to change at the very core that made it wondrous to begin with. Brush it off and do it all over again tomorrow and the next day. Puff of smoke is where it's at, whether it's up to you at all. Wait, is it up to you? That's another song, of course. Of course it is. It spells, it's the spell you're under. So don't let the trio's 9th album slip between your listening habits. Puff of Smoke has a lot to say. And yes, that song has a full-on homage to the Allman Brothers feel, if you're listening. And it will linger wonderfully, both musically and lyrically, on you if you bear audio witness. Well, we love us a debut from Australia. Hell, we just got back from, album war.
Yeah.
Now sprinkle that with all-female band and harmonies that guide you in a Carpenter meets Crosby, Stills, Nash, and maybe Young, covered in a folk pop perfection of hot fudge. And I bet we've got a bit of your attention now. Maybe. I hope. If you don't, well, then if you call your band Folk Bitch Trio, they got your attention for sure, right? Now would be a good time. And yeah, maybe that Carpenter comparison is a little dangerous these days, depending on the age group you're speaking to. So, I don't want Jeff Crichton to get all excited. Now would be a good time is not only a harmonically charming record, but it's solid, it's smart, it's insightful, it delivers immediately rather than trying to give you a catchy hook way in, and then kind of hit you later. It does it. In fact, this article that I wrote, I'm going to name drop back in there some of those people that have done this beyond what I just did, the Carpenter and Crosby, Stills, Nash, just to give you an idea that, I don't know, how trying to maintain something of this nature is near impossible in the music multiverse. None of these bands survive. They don't. I don't know what it is, but now I don't subscribe to the power of folk always being made to be sad, or that it's supposed to bring us together. Kumbaya. I think generations of the music and the situation of their writing and style dictates more of that. So I believe this Australian high school friends trio is the kind of folk to folk you all up. And this is perfectly demonstrated right from the start and the song God's a Different Sword.
Here I go, just one more. left it just a little while, would these questions turn to answers in a neat little pile? Could I be good on my own accord? Well, heaven knows I need it, but God's a different sort.
This is going to be a band that's going to utilize lyrical placement, shallow the refrain, and give you the power to yield your own interpretive sword. So, can they hold this? Can they, on their own accord? Well, once you've listened to it, you'll realize that they most certainly can, as if they were somehow triplets. Yet they're not. They're not blood, but they have the blood of interesting songwriters, melody users, and harmonizers, and they use the entire palette to paint this quaint, smart, interesting album. Damn.
I'd never heard of these people. Are they brand new? Is this their first album?
First album.
Oh yeah, did they have an EP? Maybe.
I don't know if it was an EP, but I'd have to look back.
Okay.
Yeah, this is definitely like some things came pretty quick here, right? And we'll talk about this again with another artist in the later
Okay.
part of this show. But yeah,
Mhm.
like this. Remember the industry wants to pounce on things, and they pounce on something that sounds familiar, has familiarity, and then they want to dress it up and get it out there. And
Mhm.
these girls have obviously been doing this for a bit in their own end of the world,
Mhm.
gaining a little notoriety and building. And I
Got
think
it.
that's where that is. And later on, we talk about another individual. You'll see that there was that minute and moment where I thought, okay, especially when it comes from a social media realm area, that you kind of
Got it.
go, oh God, here they go, get this person in the
Mhm.
studio now. Yet they don't know what they're doing. They're not a professional. They have no concept,
Right.
and their songwriting that they have from their past is childish. But this is not this way. And this is the debut record. They've been
Okay.
holding a little bit on. They've opened for some individuals and people, and they have a background here. So this is a really polished debut for all sense of purposes. And I was
Okay.
worried because when you have artists like this, and you go looking for information
Yes.
about who plays what, and there aren't any, that's puts a
Okay.
red flag on me that I think, oh, wait a minute, who's doing the playing? Are they just harmony voices? All right, all
Yes.
girl band dressed up as a folk band? No, they are not. They actually
Okay.
play. Although I only think two of the three play guitar. So,
All right.
and I think the rest, I don't know if anybody plays drums or whatnot, but they, yeah, the two females. Yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because I mean, I couldn't find anything on them, so I thought, well, they've got to be relatively new. They're from Australia, so if they've been doing stuff there, maybe, my AI didn't pick up on it when I was trying to find out something interesting to talk about other than, who their influences were, which, Joni Mitchell, CSNY, Lucinda Williams, Wilco. But you mentioned why do these kinds of bands not survive? And I think maybe it is because, me listening to this, it did already feel familiar. Even though it was dreamy, but it was just familiar. It wasn't anything new that I went, aha. Other than when you really do start listening to it and feeling that they're they are talented and they are good songwriters and they can sing, but there's a lot of those out there. And I think maybe the genre of music is just not going to be something that's going to stick with them. Hopefully they can just build on it and make it a little bit more expansive. But outside of that, I mean, I wish I was as talented as this and able to make some money doing something I love. The two songs that really grabbed me, Moth Song, I loved Moth Song, and Mary's Playing the Harp. I thought
Right.
that was so beautiful and so, even though I couldn't find out a lot about them and it did kind of feel in some ways generic, it still really well done. And was surprised when I went back and found that they only had this is their first album and maybe an EP or whatever it was. Um, like you said, they've sound like they've had a little bit more experience than what their resume shows.
Yeah. Secret. If you want to find out about a band and their reality,
Yeah.
go to YouTube and see if they played live and someone recorded it. There were a few.
There you go.
So I looked so I could see a guitar in someone's hand. Then I just had to figure out who was who.
Yeah, because they're all bitches.
Which one of the articles actually had portraits of each girl and the name.
Okay. All right.
Woman, I should say. I shouldn't say girl. They're in their 20s. Yeah, is this your typical folk? Yeah, maybe, but not entirely. And that's
Mhm.
part of the argument I made at the beginning. These ladies don't know Vietnam. They don't know the Cold War or even the hippie loving cross country escapades that shaped a lot of the albums that hold the greatest of all time statement. All right. What they have is a connection to people like Elliott Smith, Joanna Newsom, and Mount Erie.
Oh,
And
Mount
I
Erie.
love the Wilco comment, right? But just not to
Mhm.
the technical playmanship that Wilco is, right?
Right.
What am I saying? These ladies have a melodic transferability that can give them dreamy or get them intimate. Yeah. I wasn't inclined to go with steamy because that would be a shitty rhyme. I love that they can step back to vocal harmony only and make it balanced. They can work as a fulfilling of some sort of production tricks that are in there, like how the augmenting of the guitar, acoustic guitar, light sonics come in, and microphone placement is definitely important in this. And you'll see it in performances where she knows when to step back away from the microphone, and these are things that are learned, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
in comparison to female bands and artists out there, I put this in the wheelhouse of those that have an affinity for a band out of Canada called Trent Severn, based after the Straight, First Aid Kit, the Highway, no, the Highway Women, the High Women, and the closest to home might be All Our Exes Live in Texas,
Oh.
which is from Australia. Harmony is one thing, familiarity another, which most of these have. But Folk Bitch Trio doesn't come into that familiarity in some cases. It holds tighter to the Bon Iver sound approach. Not even, I don't know, all the exes live in Texas. They have a high pitch, right? This band doesn't
Mhm.
have that.
Right.
And they're kind of living in the low scale, which makes it a little bit more on that Mount Erie side.
Yeah.
Um, what I'm saying is that they fall a little wide of traditional, and they allow for success because it's across a gender. When you get high pitched, a lot of male people are out.
Yeah. They check out.
Yeah. So at least that's my opinion. Maybe it's a draconian opinion. I don't know. I think there's edgy and positioned that I think her name is Pilkington, Jeannie.
Mm.
And then there's Heidi and Gracie. So Heidi, Gracie,
Yes.
Jeannie. They
They
got all that high pitched ending names, to their
do.
names, but they
They
don't
do.
go there.
Very girly.
Yeah. So they get into a zone. It's their lane, a lane that puts them in the recording label of Jaguar, with Sharon Van Etten, Dinosaur
Yes.
Jr., and oh yeah, Boy Genius, who female trio as well. So they're in good
Yep.
company. They got a record label behind them that probably will help. This is a very good album that sounds start to finish on these minor tragedies and stumblings. But before you know it, you're commiserating, you're tapping and sharing a bit of that lovesick uncertainty with them, which is good. I have no doubt that the emotion and passion for music will make their lives in the music industry better, their live performances better, and allow them to fit in a lot of opening and band positions too that they might not normally think they fit to. So here you go. Just one more listen. Go ahead, get that ache and longing in and out of your system because you got more albums you got to listen to, get sucked into. You can't be hanging with these bitches all day. Actually, you can probably, and it'll work for you. You don't write lyrics like this or an album of this nature without having a connection to loving music. Otherwise, you write dumbed down radio ditties that sell copy and make the band and smart audiences nauseous. It's not the case here. There's a lot here to desire and put into your life that feels grounded, real, and it's a great audio companion for today. Woo, I spent a lot of time here. When I saw this album cover revealed, I had a memory of their debut. I remember
Oh.
that progressive dynamics of it. I knew that this was going to be one of to put on Saturdays, right? I figured, yeah, this is because I didn't do that last year. No, the year before. So it's 2022, maybe
3?
23. No, 22 might have been there.
22. Okay. 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago. So for them not to build on the foundation of their self-titled release and their musicianship they have would be just darn right stupid. The Constant Void should represent a progressive metal smorgasbord of a conceptual album writing and in-depth musicianship that proggers can immediately, just identify with, but also go through the entire album finding all those little instrumental nuggets, the solos, and interesting moments that are kind of guiding this rather dystopian look at the world's position as it spins in the album and heading toward an inevitable destination, although we don't really know what that destination is, but it seems void of, survival, I guess. Well, spend enough time with this record like I did, and this might be where your ear lands and your memory rests. I'm going to concentrate on the greatest, most impactful thing this album has and this band has, and the constant comparisons to another band, and I hate it.
Oh.
Emotion. It is the greatest trait and manufactured elegance that comes from this rather gripping auditory progressive metal and progressive rock concept album, because it's a concept album. There's no question that it is. In progressive genre artistry, there is one thing I'm drawn to, and one that usually offends my ears, and it all comes down to this one single word and importance: emotion. In fact, it probably is the judge and jury word on most album reviews I write in the kind of genre, any kind of genre, but progressive especially. Emotion. You have to have it. You have to believe it. You have to deliver it. And the only way you can, despite your overall marksmanship, you can have great virtuosity or your ability to conceptually design, man, you're cool as hell, is to be somehow moved, enraptured, or devoured in it. That's just how it has to be. The Constant Void and the members of Philosophophobia, I believe, have this from start to finish. It doesn't feel manufactured. It doesn't feel forced. I don't know. It feels forced. And while most of the progressive bands start with the musicianship, right? That's kind of where progressive rock lends itself. These guys can play. Well, let's get a singer now. Or can you sing? Maybe you can. You can sing,
Right.
but can you be emotionally attached to it? That's the other part, right? So that's where some of these other bands kind of fall off of that Dream Theater. And never mind. And while most progressive bands, again, start with a musicianship, this band here, the responsibility of this kind of falls on Dominic. I'd say his last name, but it's Greece. Oh, it's Greek in it. And I'll say it. It's Papemanuel.
Okay.
All right.
God bless you.
Yes. Yeah. He is doing this interesting near schizophrenic vocal delivery. All right. It is. He's singing 3 different he's got operatic vocal, he's got the progressive rock, and that's 4 actually, the more schizophrenic, I believe. He's got this poetic snarl, and then of course the growl vocal. All wrapped up in this. It sounds sincere, it's impactful, it reaches even when it's unclean.
Darkness of night, even if I wished with all of my might, if I could turn back the hands of time, embraced every moment until we crossed the line.
It sounds ridiculously opera-esque. He he musters stuff like Jeff Tate, Todd Latore, and Gary Sharon. All right. And if you don't know who those people are, that's Queensryche. That's the other guy who was in Queensryche, and Sharon from, well, he sang with Van Halen too. But
Yes.
it's different though. It's compelling, dramatic persona and vocal in 4 styles now, I'm thinking. And it's intermingled throughout the album. It's not all the time. And he's actually channeling Mike Patton of Faith No More in some of this, in the way it's delivered in that environment. And it doesn't start and end there, but I'll stop there and let Tam get in on it.
Well, it's kind of funny. I'm just going to say this, and then the audience will catch up when we go further along in the show. I this week listened to the albums on the list backwards. So, so when I got to this one, I was a little nervous at first because of one of that I had listened to earlier. I'm leaving it right there.
Mhm.
I've always been a fan of progressive rock. It's kind of in my very formative years was an important music genre to me. But you had mentioned the comparison that you don't like to Dream Theater. This is heavier in some ways, more modern in other ways, and I think it appeals to fans of both traditional prog, but it surprisingly has some experimental sounds that are different than what you would just get from ELP or Yes or some of the more hardcore ones. The first song, now this reference that I'm making is because there's something coming up next month that's fresh in my mind from the past, but I really expected these to be the first words. "'Tis a magical place where the moon doth rise with the dragon's face." I Spinal Tap, when he started talking, I just thought there were going to be some druids dancing around on the stage. And at first I went, I don't think I'm going to like this, because I had listened to that other album first. I was a little scared. But very surprisingly, it is fresh, but nostalgic for me. What I liked was throwing some of these songs in that would bring down that fever pitch a little bit so that you could kind of settle back into yourself and not feel anxious. And Will You Remember was the one song that I looked forward to hearing every time I listened to this, because starts very slow. It's a little bit more technical instrumental instead of that, you know. So I was very surprised, and I kind of was embarrassed that I judged them so harshly in the beginning. But yeah, I'm glad I stuck it out.
This is how it happens. This is where things go wrong.
Yeah,
That's why the beginning is so important. But in this case, their beginning to their truth is so important. They could have likened this and started and taken some other position at the beginning so as to not offend the ear or to draw. But they just no, it only fits one way and only goes one way to keep that emotion. So you got a masterful centerpiece here, all right, and nothing against Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, but
right.
this Alex Landenberg at the kit, he's an emotional, impactful player in all this. He explodes, he grooves when he needs to, and he exacerbates the incredible compositions, giving them a huge amount of heart palpitating moments and double kick drum resounding throughout. And he doesn't go into the toms as elegant as the aforementioned. The soloing guitars of Andreas Balness are right on par with those of so many greats that have come from the likes of old school prog, like Yes, but into the metal arena of Michael Romeo, of Symphony X, even John Petrucci. Yeah, I know that's Dream Theater. And the likes of old, I don't know, like a Michael Wilton of Queensryche, even, which I feel this album is closer to in the Operation Mindcrime than any album or mention of Dream Theater. The compositions know the instrumental position, which is underlying greatness here, because the keyboards don't come in for a solo because it's just time for them to come in. No, they have a position. Tobias comes in because it's completely necessary to the composition and the emotional connection of the song placement. And that happens at the fall, the song, which started out in the soloing David Gilmour direction to start with. All right. So here's where people get a little angry. And even myself, I'm like, transition's a bitch, especially in a prog metal environment, in a progressive rock environment. So there are cases where the temperature, mood, and the earnest of it all works. And then when you're trying to switch that instrument and bring that loveliness in with the piano, that transition is not beautiful. It just happens. But it's honest. It's earnest. So I'll let it slide. Right? The Constant Void is a progressive emotional ride in the metal arena. Taking cues from the kind of wonderful places in Prague, archives of musicians, bands, and songwriters and storytelling. I spent the most time with this album over all of them this week, not because it was difficult, but because it was so immersive. And I didn't want to like listen to it and go, but that's that. No, that's not what this album is meant to be. This is one of those conceptual albums that actually that's worth going through. You're going to understand it. The lyrical positions make it work. How it delivered makes it work, especially vocally. I'm not saying there's this guy does have a tremendous vocal when he wants to, but he's also playing other parts too. It's very dramatic. And it's not stupid dramatic.
Right.
Names of stupid dramatic, because then people will never watch the show. But The Constant Void is the kind of record like that of Operation Mindcrime, and a sort of comparison, especially in the uniqueness of the vocalizations and the magnificent instrumentalism that is going on. I didn't realize this was another Ken Golden record. So kudos to him. The Professor of Prague has certainly got his ear and hands in some of the best progressive albums this year. He's two up already. I don't know what else is coming. And big kudos to Mr. Bjorn. That's his first name. I'm not even going to try the last name. There's some sort of weird symbol in the middle. That album cover's cool as hell. And it's something I will remember, as well as the instrumentals and the vocalizations. So. All right. 3 extras. I didn't even say we're promising 3 extras, but it's just kind of a constant now. All right. Okay. Different position for this. I am not a proponent of naming yourself, your band, based on your sound.
I knew you were going to say this. I knew it.
There are exceptions, live from York, Pennsylvania. But let's stop there. We enter the dangerous arena of shoegaze here with that title of the name of the band, Wisp. Okay. If Not Winter is the name of the album, and Wisp is actually one lady, one female. And yes, her vocal is wispy.
At least you know what to expect.
There you go. Now, Usually these things find a place, a moment in the music multiverse, and then a record company pounces. This is what I was talking about at the beginning here. So she gets a song out there. Don't remember the name of it. On TikTok.
Yes.
And a record company pounces. I will not name the record company at this point because this kind of goes around. Don't think I'm going to down this because it's not really what's going to happen. So they do what they do. They capitalize like the 60s. But the minute they heard somebody, throw them in the studio. Who cares what they know? How they, as I already spoke. So, however, the Wisp single was from 2023, and we got an EP in 2024. I sort of remember the EP, and then I remembered why I remembered the EP, and that has to do with her being able to open for System of a Down. So if you can open for System of a Down, there's something going on that I didn't really. This is Wisp and Wispy with this is shoegaze getting bitch slapped by sonic guitars, getting whooped up, and in Natalie Lou's defense, she is taking Wisp to another level. Smashing it with everything. But this is the production piece here, expertise. We've got Lars Stauffer of the Mars Volta. So he's involved in certain segments of this. And Stint, a record producer out of Canada, who has had his finger on the pulse of other artists, not in this complete genre, but in others. So he knows how to get that sound. There's just an interesting balance of interlude and thrash. And I'm saying thrash, and you're like, how does shoegaze have thrash? You'll find it. What are the capabilities and furtherment of entanglements here? Well, I'll get back to that, but let's see what Damn thought.
Didn't she name herself Wisp too?
I think she's at the head of everything, right? And
I think she changed her name. I don't know. She's from San Francisco. This is a very short album. It's only like 38 minutes or so. And like you said, the name obviously suits the sound of her music. Not only did she open for System of a Down, but she toured with Korn. Like, I'm just going, who is this woman? I want to meet her because I'm sure she's got some stories, even though she seems like she probably would just hide in her basement doing things. But obviously, no, she's got a different side to her personality. Violin, guitar, piano, she's proficient at. I believe she can play some other instruments. She was a computer science major. And then she decided that music was her thing. Some of her other, notes as far as who influenced her, which kind of brings into why it's just not shoegaze. There's alternative stuff going on here. The Deftones, My Chemical Romance. She's got a well-rounded sensibility of music, and I think that probably takes her away from just being wispy all the time. But it was very pleasing. It was a little unexpected in places. Like all I Need, that song. That had like a more alt feel to it. And what I found interesting, how you always tell me my algorithm must be screwed up on my Amazon Music, just kept coming up with Wet Leg as the next.
It came up to me too.
It did. And I could see it in a way. But we did that Wet Leg album, and I only liked one song on the whole album, and it was nothing like any of the songs on this album. So I guess there's something there that I'm missing. I don't know. But yeah, I think that she's going to explore a lot of different things and not just stick to being wispy. That's what I feel.
That's what my hope is. Because okay, so how do we go here? You there's an interesting balance that she utilizes on this record, and even in the EP that came before it, which has that song, and I can't think of the name of the song on it, that made her get what she got. But it's not on this record, which I thought maybe it should have been. Range wise, her name and the vocals are one, and while the sonic element gives you a heavy rock feel, I would love to get past the production and see what other instruments and genres could be in. She could influx herself into. Otherwise, this might become a little one-way street in the overall drive that is the music multiverse. But for now, the feeling of the influences and the fact that she's able to, carry opening acts for System of a Down or Korn, that's not going to hold her down or back at this moment. Interscope is the recording company. So, Eminem in the beginning.
Yeah.
Did an interesting job here, and she could be very interesting shoegaze, heavy pop, electronic driven vessel moving wispily forward, I guess.
Nice.
Now we move to Mike Pelese. And if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. I only know him as Purling Hiss.
Yes, Purling Hiss.
Around Sound is this record, and it's not his first solo record, but for me, it was the first time I had gathered a solo record of his. Sort of unplug for a moment and take on Around Sound because Purling Hiss is not unplugged. It is completely and utterly, I don't know. What's the band? Iron Butterfly meets Ty Siegel in this waves and waves of Inagata guitarra, and it's psychedelic for sure. And vocally wise, the first record, there's none. There might be a little here or something like that by accident when he's getting his finger caught in the guitar. But later on, he starts to infuse vocal, and it starts to work, and it's not well recorded, and I think that's intentional. So here we are at this unplugged kind of sound. And of course, he's a multi-instrumentalist. He plays everything. On the actual first record that was his solo record, he played every instrument, and even Purling Hiss, he was the instrumental person behind it all.
Wow.
So he knows how to carry the weight of an entire record. And so it can now enter this folk, non-sonic, tempered around sound. But let's start to take a first appreciation of the rabbit hole of the overall accomplishment to play every instrument. So you can go that way. Go check out these things that I just talked about, Purling Hiss, etc. When he first started, and I went back and listened to the first record he had, and I won't say the name of it because I can't remember it because it was too long. The first song is Bain Marie. That's a pot in the small wares industry. It's a holding pot, and it's tempered in water, and it's really not that interesting. And I'm like, that's your lead off thing. That's your lead off song, right? Oh, Bain Marie. Okay. There are areas of this album that I find speed track issues with. Like it seemed like it was going to move one way, and it start like this, like somebody who drives a car and doesn't put, yep, there you are. Oh boy. Are we going to go 50? Nope, 40, 50, 40, 50, 40. What?
Yeah.
But he somehow manages to bring out a little bit of his, you can't get distortion out of an acoustic guitar, I don't think. But he manages to try to get it out of mellotron, vibraphone, and piano, which I found a little bit interesting in that. But ultimately, this is an artist that skills for the instrument is stronger than the connection I have for lyrics. So, damn, where did Mike fit for you?
Well, after I read about him, he's held a different place in my heart because his musical influences and the way they came about in his life kind of follow me. And so his first one and what he was trying to emulate Jimi Hendrix, um, love that. But then Zeppelin took over his life. And then punk, Black Flag. Like I go, this guy really this guy's very talented, well-rounded, and somehow took all these things that he loves and made it's his own sound. I don't know if I would like Purling Hiss. I've heard of them. I think I stayed away from that band because it just sounds like something I wouldn't like.
I actually
Um,
reviewed that album in 2023. I think.
really.
Yeah.
Okay. You know me pretty well. But personally, he's a very interesting person. He's always held another job, mundane job while he's done this. Currently, he works at a book warehouse. I find that so humbling, and I love that about people that just, he's entrenched in domestic life now, and fatherhood is one of the reasons why this album might be a little bit different. Came a little bit more reflective and softened a little bit, is what I read in an interview.
Okay.
But yeah. So I was a little surprised by some of these songs based on Purling Hiss. And wasn't he in another band?
Yeah, but Birds of Mara.
Yeah, something like Mira, something like that.
Mhm.
I liked Four Celestations. It was very starry and twinkly feeling in spite of a little bit more heaviness than what you would expect, like after some of the other things we listened to this week. And After the Deluge, uh, when I saw the name of that song, all I could think of was, Hurricane Helene and how the devastation through Asheville and all of that. But
When it's flooding after the deluge, leaving remains in a state confused. Right where you stand, I woke up and I don't wanna lay there. What's the point in ashes forming after burning laughter? Is the devil dancing? Reaper taps his watch and smiles at me.
paints a really lovely river scene on this song, and um I think that I'm open to listening to Purling Hiss just so I can get kind of a reference point of what I was listening to here. So interesting, not something that I would, have picked out on my own, but I did like learning about him as a person as well.
Yeah, the Purling Hiss. There are moments of Hendrix for sure done in a I don't know, it would be a novician way to some
Yeah,
degree, but you can
yeah,
hear it. There's no question,
yeah,
and of course, it's blistered by what early Purling Hiss was, and
got
Purling
it.
Hiss does step away from that as it moves on. And the 2023 album I did was Drag on Gerard. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, he there's places he can go and stuff like that. And I don't know. He probably being what he is, probably very hard to be in a band when you can do all that parts and you don't, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. If there's another Purling Hiss record, or he lets the solo guide more. It's
Hmm.
nice to be that talented. I just, yeah, connecting
Yeah,
wise, lyric wise, it didn't happen
yeah.
for me, and I'm pretty much
Hmm.
sure that has to do with the blistering amount of music I've had to listen to over the last several weeks. Um, and then let's get to blistering. Why don't we? Right. So you got this band. They're called Floating. Yeah, it's okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And their album title is Hesitating Lights. Now we're going to do something I have never experienced before, and I've done dark metal. I have done death metal, black metal. Floating is completely different. This is an aspirator in taking in sounds like punk, 80s fused like The Cure, the Cocteau Twins, pop synth. There's jangle, and then it happens. Damn, what happens?
Let's go back to Lifeguard. I'd rather listen to that. I am so sorry. You know, I hated it. It was unlistenable for me. So to be quite honest, I only did once and I never went back. And I couldn't, there was nothing in it redeeming for me that I could at least hook onto one song and go, well, I'll give this a little kudos, but sorry, Mark, this is all on you. I really don't have a lot
So
to
the
say.
question here is, would people watch this show if I spoke like this the entire time?
No, it was like The Exorcist.
You will be watching my show always.
Yes, exactly.
Now, usually this kind of vocal goes with heavy, blistering, riffing,
Yes.
tremendous distortion and I don't know, thumping of every instrument that they have their hands on. And where this is whether or not they actually can play the instrument or not, and just whip the shit out of it. But the fact of the matter is the background music here is so despairing from the vocal. It, like I said, it's got this. A lot of people said like post punk, and I'm trying to wrap my head around that. It's almost like that power punk pop kind of thing.
Yeah.
The musicianship is getting destroyed.
Yes. I wish I could have filtered out the vocals and just listened to the music.
That can be done. There are track things that can do that because you can have it sent to you and stuff. I wonder
Okay.
what it would have been like without. I understand their conceptual design and where this is headed, and I kind of I applaud the attempt. And this is not the first attempt. This is now number 2. Other people have talked about how they're coming to grips with this, and they thought it was more expansive, and it had much more going on, and it was a good next step. All right. Well, I listened just recently to another band, so you're going to get another review in here, right? So give me a second. So I'm getting now other people sending me material from these other PR firms, and they're coming in waves of black, dark metal, and so I have shows forever for Keep It Dark.
Oh,
This
yay.
one is Abhorrent Expanse is the name of the band.
Abhorrent.
And, yes. And their album, which released this Friday, which I listened to in its entirety twice, called Enter the Misanthropocene.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. And
those are some big
artwork-wise,
words.
that kind of reminded me of this jazz position.
Oh.
Reminded me of Praxis. Now, let me give you a little understanding. Jazz has always been avant-garde. It can go any which way it can. It has one thing that no other genre has managed to hold on to, and that's improv.
Mhm.
I know they are trying this, and it's working very well in the stoner rock realm, where these bands are getting on and they're doing a live session and they're just improvising what they're doing, and that like Earthless or All Them Witches. So now let's take this with Abhorrent Expanse and their I love the album title, Enter the Misanthropocene. Yeah. Right. This is death metal jazz. Okay.
That's so crazy.
So, and it's the second full length. So they're in the same realm of this particular band we're talking about, Floating,
Yeah.
where the music and the vocal and the music, the actual instrument playing has that change and
Mhm.
disconnect. So let's go back to
Okay.
Praxis. Praxis is Buckethead, Bill Laswell, Brain from Primus, and
Mhm.
Bootsy Collins.
Yeah.
All right. It's that melding,
Mhm.
right? Fusion,
Yeah.
fusion improv, and these band, this is where they are. This is what they're trying to accomplish. Now with Floating Hesitating Lights, this is only two sorted, right? So you got the band and then the vocalist. Does it work as well? No. I didn't think it did, but there will be people that'll be like, well, it's an attempt. It might get there. It might when you sing like this, there's nowhere else you can go. Right? There's nothing against it. Just put yourself in the next Static X. You know, because
Right.
I
Yeah.
just don't. It doesn't work for me. It probably won't work for a lot of people, and you might be beating your head against a death metal wall. Take this band, Abhorrent Expanse, and find a praxis position, really. Whereas there is musicianship that allows in the improv to make some of this work and find connection, because the musician is finding has to somehow hear it and find a position themselves,
Right.
and with their instrument or with the vocaling or
Mhm.
whatever it might be. And this
Mhm.
even has ambient metal in it, or ambient death in it, or ambient darkness, and in completely beguilingly different record in the same problematic position, trying to push against the wall of what
Yeah.
we already expect. And I kudos to both bands in trying to do this. One doing it better, the other one trying relentlessly and making small connections to me. I'm listening more to the band and their Susie and the Banshees back,
Yeah.
instrument
Yeah.
and those kind of things, and then trying to go, why did he just come in and do what
Yes.
sorry, but
I agree.
Abhorrent Expanse, if you like Praxis, all right, and Praxis is not a death metal band, but you're going to see comparisons and put yourself there. If you're going to start to not enjoy these things, all right, but be a music aficionado and
Mhm.
talk like we talk, you have to experience these things, and you have to find a place to put it, and you have to go through it, and you don't have to necessarily fall in love with it, but you have to appreciate where they're coming from. These are not idiots. They all play.
Right.
They can
Oh,
all
yes.
and
That's why
there
it's
are yes, yeah,
it's
and there's an
difficult
audience.
for me because I know that I c- I couldn't even think it up to do it, right? I
Right.
mean, they're intelligent, they're talented, they've practiced their craft, but
What it does is it gives people, I listen, I do not want somebody to go, how could you highly recommend this? That's not what I'm saying.
correct. No, I
right?
know.
If you're looking for a complex piece of music that oozes with style while still pushing the boundaries of extreme metal music, then enter the Misanthropocene from Midwestern US, right? With death vocal, death drone, and sonic improv. This album was completely improv. Okay, they did it, and there's the impressive part.
Yeah, exactly.
There are parts,
Exactly.
but you have to be in that. I think it's between like Chicago and Minneapolis. These guys are from or whatever. But
Interesting.
yeah, and they're another sophomore. So there you go. You got an extra. So what did you think of these albums? Did you give them a shot? Did you go floating, or wisping, or progging, or folking? God, those bitches.
Or
Anyway.
smoking.
And if you got to, you got to take a puff of smoke right at the beginning. And
Yeah.
So like what you like, leave what you don't. It's okay. I get it. Subscribe to the channel for more. I'll thank Dan for doing this. We'll be back next Saturday. A little bit more of the things people might know, because a certain band is on that's usual and touted, and we'll see how they did.
Okay.
Subscribe to the channel for more. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course. Articles, videos, podcasts. Yeah, it's probably an impossibility now. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Unknown Sundays. Strange soundtrack culminations by bands that got together that should they have gotten together? Did it work? Yeah. Take your rap with your metal. Take your jazz with your Rob Zombie. What? Thanks for watching. Happy listening.
Bye.